think of the fact that the people who are getting the big crowds right now are AOC and Bernie Sanders? They're going around the country. Thank you, there's that same guy. I call him the always wrong guy. Okay, but I feel like, big crowds, again, the shiny object that the Democrats chase. It's not about the big crowds that come out to you when you're talking in a festival or wherever they are. I think it's because I think Bernie showed up at Coachella. That must have been fun for the fans. It's who shows up on Election Day. And I just don't see that's the ticket. I mean...
Unemployment is low because everyone has 2 jobs. Unemployment is low because people are working 60, 70, 80 hours a week and can barely feed their kids.
Everybody's an idiot except for me.
Capitalism has not always existed in the world, and it will not always exist in the world. When this country
It is the system that, unlike all the others, has lifted more people out of poverty over the course of human history than any other system.
Well, so I think that those things that you talk about, that you discuss, are part of the course of human evolution.
You know it's serious when even Bill Maher is yelling, "Stop the madness." The Democrats think they found their next political savior in AOC, but haven't we seen this movie before? Remember 2024 when they went all in on Kamala Harris? Yeah, that didn't exactly end in a standing ovation. Hey, real quick, if you love smart, bold takes with zero fluff, hit that subscribe button. It really helps us grow this channel and keep the conversation real. Now back to the drama. Maher warned them back then, loud and clear, but they brushed him off like background noise. And what happened? Total chaos. So guess what? He's back in this time. He's not just criticizing, he's practically begging the left to not repeat the same mistake. So why is AOC now in his crosshairs? And is he right to sound the alarm? Let's dig into it.
What do you think of the fact that the people who are getting the big crowds right now are AOC and Bernie Sanders? They're going around the country. Thank you, there's that same guy. I call him the always wrong guy. Okay, but I feel like, big crowds, again, the shiny object that the Democrats chase. It's not about the big crowds that come out to you when you're talking in a festival or wherever they are. I think it's because I think Bernie showed up at Coachella. That must have been fun for the fans. It's who shows up on Election Day. And I just don't see that's the ticket. I mean, Cory Booker, I know you've worked with him. I like Cory a lot from my home state of New Jersey. Made a speech for 25 hours. Again, just whacking each other off. This is just not what's going to get the job.
It only took days, literally, days after AOC's name started floating around as Kamala Harris's potential replacement for things to spiral completely out of control. Instead of rising to the moment, AOC has been torching her own credibility one soundbite at a time. Economic takes that don't add up? Check. Policy rants that leave people scratching their heads? Double check. It's not just political opponents raising eyebrows anymore, it's her own base whispering, "Wait, what is she even talking about?" And here's the real kicker. If this is the new face of 2028, then the Democrats might want to slam that reset button now. Because the more she speaks, the more voters are thinking, is this seriously the best we've got? What happened to strategy? What happened to leadership?
Unemployment is low because everyone has 2 jobs. Unemployment is low because people are working 60, 70, 80 hours a week and can barely feed their kids.
Everybody's an idiot except for me.
Capitalism has not always existed in the world, and it will not always exist in the world. When this country
It is the system that, unlike all the others, has lifted more people out of poverty over the course of human history than any other system.
Well, so I think that those things that you talk about, that you discuss, are part of the course of human evolution.
And this right here is why voices like Bill Maher are smashing that panic button when it comes to AOC. Because when you strip away the firebrand speeches, the dramatic outrage, and the constant social media spectacle, what are you really left with? Noise doesn't equal impact, and aggression, that's not leadership, it's theater. And honestly, people are starting to see through it. There's no vision, no roadmap, just a never-ending performance chasing likes instead of building a legacy. And Maher, he's not throwing out hot takes, he's reading the warning signs loud and clear. If the Democratic Party is seriously putting all their chips on AOC for 2028, they're not just making a bold move. they're risking a full-blown political meltdown.
Serious problem for Democrats. Less than 1 in 4 Democrats under 30 say they're proud to be an American. 54% say they're embarrassed by it. Embarrassed? Like America's your mom picking you up at school? You're embarrassed to be an American? Well, guess what? The feeling's mutual. Because you have no perspective. Is America perfect? No, of course not. No country is.
Let's be honest, the cracks are already showing. A Democratic Party? They're bleeding support and fast. More and more of their own base is getting tired. Tired of the obsession with woke politics, tired of empty speeches, and tired of feeling like no one's listening. And Biden, he didn't exactly ride off into the sunset. His presidency wrapped up in a haze of confusion, exhaustion, and a long list of promises that never saw daylight. Then came Kamala Harris, and let's be real, she didn't help. With her rambling speeches and tangled messaging, she ended up pushing people away rather than bringing them in. Now enter AOC, doubling down on the same ideological echo chamber that's already sending middle America packing. She's not bridging gaps, she's widening them. Think Gavin Newsom or Tim Walz are backup plans? Good luck with that. Their track records are loaded with scandals, flashy virtue signals, and tone-deaf policies that do more harm than good. And here's the twist. Even lifelong Democrats are quietly slipping away toward centrists, toward independence, or just stepping back altogether. Because this isn't just about who's in charge, it's about an ideology that's completely out of touch. One that's lost its grip on economic reality, public safety, and, frankly, basic common sense.
You don't really love America if you hate half the people in it. And also if you hate a lot of the things that everybody always loved about it. There's an oft-repeated moment in political debates where the moderator says to the two candidates, say something nice about your...
Hold on, we're getting to where Bill Maher is really heading with all this. But first, we've got to break down what he's actually calling out and why it hits so hard. Because at the heart of Maher's warning, it's not just about AOC. It's about an entire wing of the Democratic Party that seems almost obsessed with tearing down the very country they claim to want to fix. Maher doesn't sugarcoat either, calls out the performative outrage, the never-ending obsession with identity politics, and the mindset that somehow equates patriotism with prejudice. In their world, if a policy was ever tied to Trump, it's automatically evil. Doesn't matter if it's helping working families, strengthening the border, or achieving energy independence. If Trump's name touched it, it's radioactive. Tax breaks for the middle class? Must be racist. Border enforcement? Obviously xenophobic. Energy independence? Oh, that's just climate denial. Seriously? Maher's had enough, and he calls it what it is: ideological self-sabotage. The Democrats aren't just resisting Trump, they're rejecting reality. And in the process, they're pushing away everyday Americans and people who still love this country and just want it to work.
All the talk about fighting for the soul of America, nobody seems to like it very much. Too many liberals give the impression that to them, America's just a big, ugh. The red, white, and ew. A country that started out bad and will always be bad, founded on an unrelenting history of sucking and unable to change. But we have changed a lot. Democrat Cori Bush tweeted, "This land is stolen land and black people still aren't free." And this was on the 4th of July. Really? Not that I give a shit about the 4th of July. I've never been a rah-rah guy. But I am a perspective guy. And that's what too much of the left has lost, perspective.
You ever hop on Twitter, scroll for 5 seconds, and instantly want to log off? Because same. The sheer level of anti-American rage out there is unreal. It's like a digital bonfire just burning with bitterness. And leading the charge? A wave of young liberals who seem to despise the very country that gave them the freedom to rage tweet in the first place. You see it over and over, people tearing into America's history, its values, even its flag. Painting this country like it's some monstrous villain instead of what it actually is. A nation that's offered them opportunity, free speech, and a standard of living most people across the globe would give anything to have. And I'm not just saying that I've traveled. I've seen the difference. Most countries don't even come close. Not in freedom, not in opportunity, and definitely not in prosperity. But these keyboard warriors, they think trashing their own country is some kind of rebellion, like it makes them brave or enlightened. It doesn't. It makes them look clueless, entitled, and honestly, it's just plain embarrassing.
92% of black people under 30 are optimistic about their future in America. Way more than white people the same age. And as far as the land goes, yes, I guess we could change the name of Captain America to Captain Stolen Land. But honestly, to all the people who start every public event now with one of those land acknowledgements where they say, "I'm standing on land that was stolen from the proud indigenous people of the Chumash tribe," I say either give it back or shut the up.
And then there's the performance artist of politics herself, AOC. Let's be honest, everything she does feels like it's straight off a script, not to lead, but to perform. Every speech, every tweet, every teary-eyed video. It's less about solutions and more about applause. She's crafted this whole scrappy working-class hero persona, but when you pull back the curtain, the story doesn't match the reality. Her real name? Sandy Ocasio. Not exactly the fiery, revolutionary brand she's been selling. In that gritty Bronx narrative, try a well-off suburb in Westchester County. The Bronx was more of a talking point than a lived experience. In that famous bartending backstory, come on. Millions of students work service jobs while juggling school. That's not some rags to riches epithets the normal grind for a ton of people just trying to get by. But AOC wraps it up like she clawed her way out of poverty when, really, she's been cosplaying as one of us while living a life totally detached from it. That's not authenticity. That's pure PR. And guess what? People are finally starting to see through the act. Now let's talk about something no one dares to say out loud anymore: how good women actually have it in America. Think about it. In this country, women can vote, own homes, start businesses, wear what they want, speak their minds, run for office, you name it. No permission slips. No second-class status, just freedom, plain and simple. Now, compare that to the rest of the world, and the gap is staggering. In too many places, women are still silenced, controlled, or stripped of even the most basic rights. And yet, somehow, AOC and her echo chamber want you to believe America is the real villain? Because it doesn't cave to every demand from the radical gender politics playbook? Let's get real. Disagreeing with extreme ideology isn't hate. Pushing back on overreach isn't oppression. The irony here is unbelievable. They cry about misogyny while living in one of the freest, safest, and most opportunity-rich countries for women on earth. And don't even get started on the never-ending war on capitalism. Yes, it's become trendy to bash the very system that built the most innovative, prosperous, and upwardly mobile society in human history. They'll tell you capitalism is cruel and that socialism is the answer. Sounds noble on paper, right? Equality, shared wealth, end poverty. But in reality, socialism and communism are economic graveyards. Look at Venezuela, Cuba, the Soviet Union. These weren't failed countries. They were resource-rich nations turned into cautionary tales. People risk their lives just to escape those systems. And what are they risking it all for? America, freedom, opportunity, the chance to build something for themselves. If this place was really the dystopian nightmare, AOC describes, why is the world still fighting to get in? Why are millions risking limb, life, and liberty not for handouts, but for dignity? That says it all. Immigrants know what real oppression looks like. That's why they get America. They've seen the alternative. And that's why it's laughable when privileged politicians bash this country from behind cushy desks and taxpayer-funded platforms. At the end of the day, the harshest critics of this country are often the ones who've had it easiest. Meanwhile, those who've tasted true hardship, they know exactly why America matters. So, block out the noise. Is America perfect? Number. But it's still the best shot the world has at liberty, opportunity, and truth. If you felt that, if you believe in keeping these conversations alive, make sure to hit like, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Thanks for watching Anna Talks In. We'll see you next time.